Cookin. I'm your hostess, Cindy Schumacher. On today's show, we'll be making a brown sugar Dijon glazed pork loin, a winter salad, perfect herb popovers, and almond amaretto bundt cake. So we're going to start with the pork loin because we want to get that going in the oven. So I have a pound of carrots that I have peeled and kind of sliced in thick pieces. We're going to toss those in to our bowl. And then these are 2 sweet potatoes that have been peeled and sliced into strips. Spatula here. We're going to toss this with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Keep stirring until you are sure that they've all got the oil on them. Okay. Then I'm going to spread them around I have a 3-pound pork loin here. I'm going to spread them around the outside. Okay, the next step is to season the pork loin. I'm going to actually put the 3 seasonings in a bowl, kind of mix them together, and then we'll season the pork loin. So it's a ½ teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Oops. I bumped my bottle a little bit on the carrots, but that's all right. And then a teaspoon of sea salt. Just gonna kind of mix that around, and then we're gonna try to cover the entire surface. I'm going to try to get on the sides a little bit here too. Okay. Now we're going to take some Dijon mustard. I've squeezed some into a measuring cup here, and we're going to kind of baste the surface of the roast with Dijon mustard. When I first tried this recipe, I thought it's odd that you would put the mustard on after you season it, because you'd think that the seasonings would kind of move all around and not stay on, but somehow they just do. It's kind of baffles me sometimes when something works. Okay, I have a 1/3 cup of packed dark brown sugar. I'm going to take that and press it onto the roast. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it on. That mustard, if you've seen other episodes where I've used the Dijon mustard, the flavor of the mustard totally dissipates. You won't taste that at all. So if you are, you think I'm really not a mustard person, It's just really a basting mechanism to help you hold everything on. So okay, so I've got the oven preheated to 375, and we're gonna pop it in the oven. We're gonna bake it for about a half an hour, and then we'll add, I've got 2 Granny Smith apples that I have peeled, cored, and sliced into kind of thick wedges. So then we'll add that, and then we'll season the carrots and the sweet potatoes at that time. So we're going to take a quick break while we clean up. We'll be right back.
That is here. Valley now has higher broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabit. Get the bandwidth you need for all your devices at one time. Gaming with no lag time. Video stream your favorite movies instantly in HD quality. Video chat with friends and family without interruption. Download your favorite music and photos in seconds. All on our 100% fiber optics network. Valley offers managed Wi-Fi and backup services too, bringing together all the services you need. Valley Telecommunications Cooperative.
I'm going to start working on the popovers. I know we've made a couple of different recipes of popovers. This is really kind of an extra big one, an extra fluffy. I am using real popover tins. But you can use muffin tins, or muffin tins would be about your only other alternative. I also have small popover tins, but these, I want this, since this is kind of a holiday meal, I'm trying to give you an idea of something that I would do if I was having a dinner party for friends before Christmas, you know, one of the weekends or whatever. And these really make a splashing impression. And so it's a little bit of a different recipe. It's got 6 eggs. I'm going to start with 6 large eggs, and I'm going to beat those with 2 cups of milk. Just doing it with my whisk. First I kind of want to break those yolks up, and then you start whipping them. Supposed to whisk them about 2 minutes, so we'll just keep going here. And they say not to skimp. You really need to do it for 2 minutes. If you have somebody in the kitchen with you to help, so your arm doesn't get so tired, that might be a good idea. I'm going to actually switch arms. This would be in the case where an ambidextrous person would come in handy, where you can switch arms easily, but just keep whisking. You want to get those eggs nice and fluffy. In the meantime, I'm going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter. Actually, I'm going to do a little more than that because we're going to put I'm running out of dishes. Oh, I can use this. Sometimes when I prepare for this, I measure things in advance and everything, so I use up a lot of my smaller containers. We're going to melt that, and I'll keep on whisking here. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter to this. Whisk that in. Okay, now in order to make these kind of a seasoned popover, I'm going to stir in some basil. And you can use whatever herb you want, but just something to make it just a little bit savory. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of basil and toss that in. And then, and this is, I'm just kind of winging it, but it works really well. I'm going to use some freshly grated Parmesan cheese that I grated up, and it's about maybe a fourth cup, third cup. I'm going to toss that in. And it just gives it a little bit of another dimension to it. So I'm going to add the 2 cups of all-purpose flour. And then you want to whisk this again for about another couple of minutes just to get it all incorporated. And other popover recipes I know I've used, and they're always successful, but they always say to kind of leave it a little lumpy. This recipe actually wants it smooth. So I'm going to keep on whisking so we can get all the floury lumps out of there. So other things you could use, especially in season, like fresh chives or you could use thyme or oregano, you know, whatever, but I kind of like the flavor that basil offers this, so especially with the pork, it goes real well. So in the meantime, I'm going to have Lisa take a break here, but in the meantime, while I'm whisking this, I want to tell you that we want to put about a half teaspoon of this melted butter in the bottom of in the well of each one of our cups. So while we take a break, I'm going to keep on doing all this stuff, so we'll be right back.
Valley is now offering updated digital TV packages and prices. Call Valley today at 437-2615.
So we put about a half teaspoon of melted butter in the well of each one of the popover tins, and then I'm going to fill these just a little more than half full. And then I kind of even the batter up as I finish up. So we'll see how it goes. I've got my oven preheated at 450, and popovers you bake at a high heat for about 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is. And then you reduce the oven without opening the door. You never want to open the door when you're doing something like a meringue or a popover or a souffle. So leave the door shut, reduce your temperature after 18 to 20 minutes, and then bake it for another probably 18 to 20 minutes again. Just there again, you know your oven better than anybody else does, so you want to just adjust your time accordingly. One thing I forgot to mention before, and I want to make sure that you know if you're just copying the recipes down as we're talking, to that 2 cups of flour, I had whisked in a teaspoon of salt. So make sure you add the salt. You've got to have the salt in there. I'm just going to mention that I had a conversation with Verlena Melhoff, one of our friends of the cooking show, and she wanted to know exactly what salt did. And salt actually enhances the flavors. It helps to kind of bring everything together, enhance the flavor of the rest of your ingredients, but you don't want to overdo it, so always follow directions. So I'm going to run these out to my other oven at 450, 20 minutes, 18 to 20 minutes, then I'm going to reduce the temperature. We'll be right back. It's time to take the pork out. And then, ooh, my glass are all steamed up. We're going to sprinkle the 2 Granny Smith apples that I have peeled and sliced kind of thickly. Sprinkle them around. This is kind of a big one. I'm going to slice that one. Okay, I'm just going to kind of give the vegetables just a touch of salt, just to kind of, just a touch of pepper. And then we're going to sprinkle a ½ cup of light brown sugar all around the vegetables. Okay, and now the recipe doesn't call for this, but this is a holiday meal for me, and this is something that I would serve to my guests. So what I'm going to do is sprinkle some dried cranberries on there, just for a little bit of extra color, and when it's Christmassy, it just kind of gives it just another dimension. You don't have to do it, and like I always say, you know, you don't have to follow a recipe just to the T. If you want to do something, make it your own. So it looks like this. It's going to go back in the oven for about another 20 minutes or so. I have a meat thermometer. You want this to register anywhere from 145 to 155, and your meat will continue to cook a little bit after you pull it out, so keep that in mind. Depending on, some people like their pork tenderloin just a little bit pink, and some people like it totally cooked through. So you know, then you would determine your temperature. If you wanted a little cooked a little more, you would go to the 155. And I want to mention, as I'm putting this back in the oven, if you want a copy of any of these recipes, if you don't have internet, give the girls at Valley a call. If you do have internet, you go to the Valley homepage, www.valleytal.net, and click on the Country Cookin' Cow, and there you'll find all the recipes. So we'll start on the cake now. So I have a bundt pan that I have greased. This is a special Pampered Chef one that you're not supposed to use cooking spray, so I've actually physically rubbed it with butter. So get my things in order here. You want to preheat your oven to 350, and so you've got your 10 to 14 cup bundt pan. So in a large mixing bowl, we're going to cream together 3/4 cup of room temperature butter, and sugar. This is 1.5 cups. So I'm going to beat those together until they're light and fluffy. And it's about 3 to 4 minutes, and here again they say don't scrimp on that. So we're going to take a break while I do this, because we don't want to have to stand and watch me do 3 to 4 minutes of creaming this. So we'll be back in 10 minutes. I've got 2.5 cups of flour here. This is just all-purpose flour. To that, I'm going to add a teaspoon and 1/4 of baking soda. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I always whisk my dry ingredients together just so that they are a little more evenly distributed. Okay, and then I have 3/4 cup of milk. I'm using 2%, and I'm going to add 1/4 cup of amaretto. Okay, so to the sugar and the butter, I'm going to stir in 3/4 cup of sour cream, and I'm using full fat sour cream. When you're doing something as special as this, I would always use the full fat. There's a time and a place to cut your calories, and a wonderful Christmas dessert is not the place to do it. So, and then I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of almond extract. Mix that in. I'm going to take my spatula and just make sure that I've got everything down in there. And now I'm going to add 4 eggs, one at a time, and you mix it just until it's combined. So these are large eggs. So much easier when you have your eggs all cracked. It gives you a few more dishes, but it's so much easier than to stop and crack an egg and stop and crack another egg. That's the alarm for the popovers. I'm going to run and reduce the oven to 350. I'll be right back. One more egg yet to go here. Be sure that you set your timer on something like the popovers because you don't want to over bake them. You know, it's critical that you do the first 18 to 20 minutes, reduce the oven, and then do the other 18 to 20 minutes because that's where you'll get it to do the popping. So I've got all the eggs incorporated in. So now I'm going to start with a little bit of the flour. And you want to blend that until it's all incorporated. Okay, to that I'm going to add the milk and amaretto mixture. Now remember, this is 3/4 cup of milk and 1/4 cup of amaretto. I'm going to pour that in slowly so you don't get the splattering. I'm going to stop again and scrape the sides of my bowl. Okay, then I'm going to pour in the last half of the flour. This is going to bake for about anywhere from 38 to 42 minutes at 350. Scrape down the sides of my bowl again one more time. Now we're going to get it in the pan and get it in the oven. We'll take a quick break while I get this in the oven. We'll be right back.
At Valley Telecommunications, we pride ourselves in providing the home team advantage. But what does that mean? It means going above and beyond to take care of our customers' needs by providing exceptional customer service, because helping you helps all of us. As a cooperative, each time you subscribe to our services, you are investing in our community, which allows all of us to build and benefit from the newest technologies. Make the switch today to Valley Telecommunications and experience the home team advantage.
Okay, we're going to get the salad going. I have 8 cups of salad that I've washed and torn. This is a mixture of romaine and just a little bit of iceberg, because the iceberg will give it a little bit of crispiness if you're, sometimes if your romaine isn't quite as fluffy as you want it to be. I have a clove of garlic, and what you want to do is rub your bowl. This works especially well if you have a wooden salad bowl or something like that, but okay, and when you've got the surface of the bowl rubbed with garlic, you want to, I've got a lemon here, I'm going to press it for the juice. If you don't have a lemon, you can use the lemon juice in the bottle, that's not a problem. So I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. A little bit short, I'm going to grab the other, unless I can get some out of this. Might be able to get just enough here. Yep. Okay, and then 2 tablespoons of honey. Spatula there. This is just going to amaze you how good this dressing is with just these little 3 ingredients. Just 2 tablespoons of honey, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, an 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And that's all there is to it. Just stir that up. Now I have 2 pears that I have cored and thinly sliced, and I cut out the stem. So I'm going to toss those pears into this dressing. Okay, and then you want to add your greens. The bowl might not be quite big enough for all these, but if you have a nice big holiday salad bowl or a nice big wooden bowl, that would be fun to use. We're just going to toss until we get the dressing over all the salad. And you can tell because it'll start to glisten a little bit because of the honey. See if I can fit in. It's starting to wilt down just a little bit, so I'm going to add just a little more of the lettuce. Okay, we're going to toss in walnuts. This is a 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. I toasted these in a slow oven last night, just about 300 degrees for maybe 10 minutes or so. You just want to keep an eye on them until they just start to color and you can just start to smell a little bit of an aroma. Then you want a 1/3 cup of blue cheese crumbled over the top, more or less, however much you want. And then here again, I like the color that a cranberry gives, and you don't have to use a lot, but I'm just going to do this if the recipe doesn't call for it, but I'm just going to do something like this. So it just kind of has a little more of a festive look to it. So it looks like that. We're going to set it aside. I'm going to clean up and then we'll quick make the glaze for the cake. We'll be right back.
Internet is here. Valley now has higher broadband speeds of up to 1 gigabit. Get the bandwidth you need for all your devices at one time. Gaming with no lag time. Video stream your favorite movies instantly in HD quality. Video chat with friends and family without interruption. Download your favorite music and photos in seconds, all on our 100% fiber optics network. Valley offers managed Wi-Fi and backup services too, bringing together all the services you need. Valley Telecommunications Cooperative.
I'm going to make the icing for the cake. So we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of salted butter this time. To that, we're going to stir in a 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. A 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. A 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. In this case, I'm going to add just a 1/2 teaspoon of amaretto, just because the amaretto has the almond flavoring, and I just want to, because we're boiling it on the stove, it's going to take away the alcohol, so you don't have to be concerned about that. But I'm going to use amaretto actually instead of the almond extract. So when you cook it, then it'll take the flavor and burn up the alcohol. And then we need 2 teaspoons of honey. I'm just going to give it a couple of squirts. Now, we want to heat this on a fairly low temperature until the sugar is melted. Once the sugar is all dissolved in there, then we want to bring it to a boil. You want it to boil for about 3 minutes. I'm going to walk away from it for a little bit. I'm going to show you, we pulled the popovers out of the oven. So these are the popovers. You sometimes get some interesting shapes. Last time I made them, I had one that almost looked like an elephant, but because I've made them savory, we're going to just serve them with butter. Although you could do the honey butter that I've made on previous shows. If you want to do honey butter, it's very simple. You do 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3, depending on how much you want, of honey, powdered sugar, and butter. So you would melt the butter, stir in the honey. So like if you did a 1/2 cup of honey, a 1/2 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of butter, and a 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. Make sure you sift your powdered sugar because you don't want the lumps in there. And then you can keep it at room temperature or you can chill it, but you want to set it out a few minutes before you use it. But that is if you would want a little bit of sweetness to your popovers. So while we wait for this to boil, I'm trying to think of if there's anything else we need to talk about. The meat is ready. It's reached the temperature, and we just turned it off while we're waiting for everything else to get done. So it looks like this. Has lots of nice color. And for a holiday meal, you always want to have a lot of color because, you know, it's just more festive. So we've got the oranges and the whites. We've got the nice brown meat. Got the green salad. So this is going to be a fun dinner to serve. I'm actually going to have Lisa take a break from filming. I'll carve the pork so I don't have to do it on camera for you. But anyway, so the meat has reached the kind of the well done. We're at the 155 degrees. So I'm going to dish everything into the bowl. By that time, the icing should be done and we can glaze the cake, and we'll be right back. I've taken the cake out of the oven. I've added 3/4 cup of sifted powdered sugar to the mixture that we had on the stove. And go ahead and, this is more of a frosting than a glaze. If you want it to be more of a glaze, then just go ahead and thin it down with water or amaretto if you want to do. Okay, so if you really want to have a little fun with it, then you can just toss on some sliced almonds like that, just to give it a little more of a festive flair. And so we are ready to dish. I've got the pork. What I've done is I've sprinkled a little bit of parsley and some sprigs of oregano from my herb garden, just to give it a little bit of color to it when you present it on your table or something like that. So have some fun. Do something a little special when you're entertaining, or even for your family. Sometimes it's fun to just do something a little special for the holidays especially. So have some fun when you're serving. Give yourself a little extra color and a little extra time just to do something fun. If you don't have an herb garden, I'm sure that you can find the herbs in your grocery store in the produce section. Dish up some of that. Steak. Drizzle a little more of the glaze on there. And so we're all set. We have our brown sugar Dijon glazed pork loin, our winter salad, our perfect herb popovers, and our almond amaretto bundt cake. Thanks for joining us today on this edition of Country Cookin'. We hope to see you next time.